Chapter 3 Lydia, read by Sue Casebeer.
You could say I was one of the last baby boomers because I was born on March 10th, 1955. And I was lucky. My family was really free-spirited and open-hearted. And my mom was one of those everyone moms. All the neighborhood kids hung out at our house, and it was always spotless, and our food was amazing. Neither of my folks were abusive or mean, so reflecting back on my childhood, I'd say I was pretty well off. The only time I remember not liking my dad was when I was about 13 years old. Mom realized that I was growing into a young woman and decided to give me a makeup kit for my birthday. I was so happy with the gift, I rushed into my room to turn the canvas that was my face into something beautiful. When it came out all made up, my dad, who is actually my stepdad, kicked my ass all the way back to my room, yelling at me to remove all that crap from my face. I never wore makeup again. Other than that, one episode, he was a pretty good man, although he did have a strange sense of humor. He enjoyed watching conflicts between me and my brother. My brother was 1.5 years older than me, and he never realized that his agitation was a source of entertainment for Dad. For some reason or another, my dad, he just liked to make jokes, sick, twisted jokes that belittled us, put us down, or made us feel bad. I guess he never really got it. He and my mom remained married for 24 years before filing for divorce. We were rather a large family. I had a total of 3 brothers and 2 sisters. One of my brothers died at 55 years old from cancer. Everyone else is doing pretty well, except for me, that is. During most of my childhood, I was living with only 2 brothers. The other siblings were grown up and out on their own when I was really young. Well, I did run away when I was 15, but after a couple days, I called my mom to come and get me. I gave her the location of the payphone booth I was using, and she told me to stay put. When Mom and my sister showed up at the payphone, I was nowhere to be seen. Seems this 22-year-old guy I knew who lived nearby saw me and took me to his place. Mom and my sister decided to go door to door looking for me. We heard a knock on the door. He took me into the bedroom and told me to remain quiet while closing the door. When this guy answered the front door, I heard my mom asking him if he had seen me. At that moment, I ran to the bedroom and ran to my mom, saying, "Let's get out of here." The guy followed, saying that he was in love with me. My mom gave him the look of death while yelling that I was too young for him. He backed off. I stayed with my sister for a few months before returning back to my parents' house. Then I became pregnant at the age of 16 when I was in the 10th grade. When my boyfriend found out I was pregnant, he disappeared. I ended up raising my daughter with a lot of help from my parents. When my child was 2 years old, I met a man who I'd fallen in love with. He and I married. He became my husband and the father of my little girl. We remained married for 26 years, and in that time, we had another daughter who today is 33 and a son who just turned 21. My first daughter is now 38. Well, my husband worked in the mines and he was a hard worker. He worked every shift you can imagine, and for all those years I stood behind him like a little good wife should. Eventually the rumors were circulating that the mine was going to close. That was when my husband decided to learn a new trade, just in case he found himself in the unemployment line. The kids were all grown up and on their own, and I was working full-time as a cashier at a local business. He decided to teach himself the assembly and repair side of the computer business. He tinkered with it for over a year, giving me the impression that he was seriously trying to improve his lot in life. Not only was I gullible, I was also the enabler. I would walk into the computer room to see him working on his computer. Then, while talking with him, a screen would pop up and he would hit a button, making it go away. When I asked him what was up, he said, "Oh, it was nothing." So I paid no attention. Then it popped up again and again until I finally noticed what it said. It was a message saying that some person was going to be online in 1.5 hours. I confronted him and he tried to tell me that one of his friends was playing with his PC and the message was from him. I did a little research and came to find out he was having a cyber affair with this woman in Kansas. He tried to tell me that they were just words and it meant nothing. I was crushed that he would think I was so stupid, and maybe I was. I stood my ground, letting him know that I felt like he was cheating on me, and his reply was, "Well, you'll just have to live with it." He was so cold and callous about the whole thing. So I decided to get online and find a friend of my own, a cyber friend, a male cyber friend. He blew up with jealousy. To me, his complaints were just words, just like his online conversations. Our relationship was over from that moment forward. As our partnership came to a sudden end, he started feeling depressed, maybe even suicidal. I never realized until much, much later exactly how codependent I was. I did everything for him and continued to do so even after we each went our own separate ways. When we split up, his cyber lover came to Tucson. We still shared the house, but as far as being husband and wife was concerned, those days were long gone. One day I found a bag in the back of his truck. It was their suitcase. The other woman? Seeing that bag lifted a big weight off of my shoulders, it confirmed to me that I was right and he was an ass. I kicked his butt out of the house and tossed all that stuff into the front yard. She took him back to Kansas and together they shacked up. They deserved each other. Good riddance. I was hoping to see the last of him. That wish was not meant to come true. Ha! Wouldn't you know it? His years upon years of drinking finally took its toll on his liver. He started to become very sick. She too developed some sort of illness, and together they are both in a sorry state. Can you believe they had the gall to call me and ask me to help them? I never hung up the phone so fast in my life. Wow. She ended up being in no condition to help him, let alone herself. So she kicked him out. He moved back to town and stayed with his brother. My kids took the dad's side and thought I was a horrible person for not stepping in. They would complain, "Well, he took care of you for 26 years. We think you owe him." I gave in to their demands and I wouldn't let them move back with me, but I did do his grocery shopping and other chores. One day I went over to his place and found him in bed. He hadn't been out of bed for over 3 days and he looked horrible. I knew he was in bad shape and not getting any better. I tried to get him on his feet, but he was too ill. I dialed 911 and they took him to the hospital. From there, he was admitted into a nursing home where he could get round-the-clock care he needed, the kind of care I couldn't provide or wouldn't provide. He died 3 weeks later, leaving nothing behind but debt. I lost our house. Now that I'm a free person with my own apartment, I started to party. I never drank during the earlier years, and so now it was my time to indulge. I took a job as a bartender at one of the local watering holes and quickly became an accepted part of the crowd. Before I knew it, I was staying there until 1 or 2 in the morning, even though my shift ended at 10 p.m. People, my customers, introduced me to cocaine, and before long I was just to pocket the extra cash and to support my own developing habit. This went on for over 2.5 years before my life started to seriously unravel. When my job at the bar came to an end, I stopped drinking and using Coke. Now I worked at the bowling alley nearby, and guess what? I started using meth instead. Yep, the beginning of my spiral. I ended up moving in with my son and a friend of his. They were all into meth. That's how I got started. When my son went to jail because he violated his probation, I continued living with his friend who was selling dope on the side. The apartment was in my son's friend's name, and when he decided to move in with his girlfriend, the superintendent allowed me to stay as long as I paid the rent. I continued to work and gave my son's friend money each month so he could make the rent payments. When the rent was over $3,000 past due, I was evicted. None of the money I gave him was paid toward the rent. He kept all of it, every cent, $3,000. I was told that if I paid the $3,000, they would allow me to stay. I had no extra money to give him, so I was out on the street. Well, I did find another place, and guess what? My son moved in with me. He is always following me, looking for handouts. But what's a mom to do? I found myself stuck in a dangerous situation with no way out. My son would fly off into these rages. He would kick down the doors or punch holes in the walls. It wasn't long before our place looked like crap, and there's nothing I could do. He would lock me in my room, telling me to stay there or else. Yep. He even became physically abusive to me, bruising my arms or choking me, and he would feel a rage towards me for some reason or another. For me, it was easier to just get high and allow the drug to cushion the pain than to face the reality that my son could very well kill me one of these days. My son was never very close to his dad. He blames both of us for his current situation. He thinks that his dad, being so strict and my not stopping in to intervene with them, are the core reasons for his issues today. Maybe he's right. My other kids, knowing the situation I was stuck in, tried to convince me to leave, but leaving was much easier said than done. I would tell my son that I wanted to go and get into a shelter where they'd help me with my addictions, and he would laugh, saying, "Haha, don't start with that crap again." And another rage would arise from nowhere. The only time I was allowed to leave the apartment was when I went to work. He knew my wages were supporting his lifestyle, all for him, none for me. Can you believe it? I put up with my husband's garbage for so many years and finally thought I got away, only to find myself stuck with another trap, this one worse than the first. I knew that if I didn't do something soon, it might be too late. One day when my son was out, I called the Gospel Rescue Mission, and to my surprise, they just had a bed open up. The rest of the day, all I could think about was how I was going to finally escape my next morning. As soon as I left the apartment, letting my son think I was heading to work to make more money to support his lifestyle, I turned right instead of left and headed straight for the shelter. When I arrived, they embraced me with love and compassion, the two things my life was missing. Later on that night, I called to let my son know that I was at the Gospel Rescue Mission. You know what? He was devastated. He wasn't worried about me. Instead, he was concerned about how he was going to support himself. He was now going to have to be accountable, and that scared him. Looking back at how I was as a parent, I know there was a lot of room for improvement. My youngest daughter ran away when she was 14 to stay with her boyfriend, who was over 18, and after a 3-month relationship, he left her pregnant. We allowed her to move home to have the baby. What else could we do? I saw the cycle, the same one I was trapped in. She needed my help, just like I needed my parents' help so many years earlier. Now my daughter is happily married and a University of Arizona graduate with her bachelor's degree in psychology. I pray that the cycle stopped with her and that my grandkids live a perfectly normal, drug and abuse-free life. We were never very much into religion when the kids were young. They had neighbors down the street who went to church regularly, and they loved taking our kids with them. We encouraged them to go, and today I'm glad we did. Our youngest daughter has a closed mind when it comes to God. She believes more in the theory of evolution versus theology. She will argue for hours and hours about organist religion is a waste of time. I prefer to believe that what we have here on earth is just too precious to be by chance. I know God is responsible for everything, including the issues I have to deal with getting to where I am today. My son, he's still living the life of a lost soul. I'm pretty sure he isn't sober. I doubt if he'll ever be. The day before I arrived here was the last day I got high, and it's the last time I needed to numb the pain, the physical and emotional pain. You see, getting high for me was a way to deal with my problems, and I had plenty of them. Not only did I get the benefit of numbing, it also allowed me to put off what needed to be done today until another day. Problem was, the other day kept popping up sooner than I wanted it. It was a vicious cycle. It all started very easily, getting high at work, at the bar, on weekends, then a day or two in the middle of the week just to take the edge off. The next thing I knew, it was every single day, all day. It felt really great when I arrived here, not needing to get that high, not wanting to chase the beast. I have been sober now for over 90 days. Praise God. The Gospel Rescue Mission is all about God and healing. I love the devotion time, and I especially love going to chapel. I know it was God who sent me here, who suddenly allowed a bed open for me. My focus now is on where it needs to be. It's on God, and it's not on my son, although I still love him very much, and I pray for him daily. But my son will have to make his own decisions. He'll have to deal with his own monsters. I can no longer be there to help him avoid his reality. And for a mother, that's a really hard thing to say. I also have to stop allowing my son to drain me what I have. Even while I was in here, he tries to take advantage of me. I gave him my food stamp card a while back so he could get a little food. I never got it back. He lied to me, telling me that it was stolen. How could someone steal it and use it? They would have to know my PIN number to use it. He confessed he lied, and suddenly my card reappeared. When will I ever learn? If I could have a wish, I would wish for my family to be together, sober with no anger. Maybe that's just wishing for the impossible. But on the other hand, I'm a dreamer. The reason for telling my story is to get the message out there to others like me. Don't be codependent. Don't allow others to depend on you, and don't allow yourself to depend on others. That'll just get you into trouble. And I know there are a lot of folks out there who are using drugs. Please look into the mirror and ask yourself if you can go a week or two without getting high. Chances are your answer is going to be no. Get help. Pray to God and open yourself up to His healing. Please pray for me and my daily battle. And most of all, pray for my son.